All right, it is Tuesday night, and we're back with another episode of Goal Horns and Fight Songs. Oh, good Lord. Uh, I'm Mike. This is Wes, and tonight we have a special guest with us, another Broncos season ticket holder, and from what I've been told, the reigning, defending, undisputed NCHC fan of the week, Jason Watts.
Yes, and I would be uh, rude not to mention my wife was also part of it, but the NCHC didn't mention her even though she was in the photograph.
Yeah, they,
But
they, they only mention the account that submits the picture. Uh,
right, what
so
what what is with that?
Oh,
hey,
it's too much work to actually do the
Yeah,
research and contact the person. Like, hey, who was with you?
yeah,
of course, she's now thinking that she's being relegated to Garfunkel, but whatever.
Well, not all of us can be Simon.
Hmm.
all right. I'm slightly agitated because this is take two. Hate everything. Hate my computer. Don't do it. I don't know what you're doing, but stop.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but now that you are, this is what happens when you let a Bronco fan um attempt to run technology.
You know what?
Uh,
You know what? Don't play that game
there's
with me, Michael. Anytime you want to take over the back end of this show, you are more than welcome to, my friend. Until then, you will sit there and shut your mouth.
I'm just saying, I'm smart enough to realize I should not be doing this.
Make like a
That's what
bulldog
I'm
and
saying.
lick your own nuts, all right? That's about as effective as your team has been all season. Come at me like that. It's
You're not
Hey,
wrong. So,
about
I
time you guys
I I
won a goddamn game, okay?
I was pulling for him all weekend.
I was too, because it kind of helps create some space for the top teams in the conference. But they did get a win. They got a win. They split with Colorado College. They made up for the touchdown they gave up on Friday. Uh, you know, still didn't
you're,
made it a 6-8 in total goals weekend.
I think the I didn't watch Saturday's game. I was doing something else, but Friday's game we had it and we were playing a game. I eventually had to shut it off. There was no defense, and it wasn't like Knapp was playing terribly. He was just getting no help at all from anyone. Um, and that's kind of been the theme of the season, at least for UMD, where the defensively they're not quite there. There was a stat, I think it was Max Plant. He's had so many points in however many games, and I was like, okay, so the offense is there. They're just not playing defense in front of their goalies and giving them any help.
Yeah, no, I mean Plant. He was a part of Team USA. Him weren't both of them part of Team USA for the World
Mm-mm,
Juniors, or was it just
mm-mm.
Max?
Just Max.
But
Yeah.
I mean, he's played well since coming back from that tournament. I think that kind of helped give him a boost playing with the guys he played with for Team USA and against the guys that they played against. But
Yeah, and Shagabe, he's come out strong since since Max got back.
who was the other
Uh
guy
it,
that Duluth had then?
it was Kleber, I
Oh, okay.
think.
Gotcha. I know they had two. They had two. Denver had one. Western had one. And St. Cloud had one.
I think
Oh,
that's right.
yeah. I think there was six total. So who am I missing? I'm missing one.
Um
And then it was two coaches, Larson and Carl.
yeah.
Oh, Knapp's only a freshman. Okay, that's what I thought too. So yeah, it would be nice if you could get some defensive help for your freshman goalie, especially in this conference. You know, hanging guys out to dry is not beneficial.
Well, I think that's the thing that played Guyon too until he got hurt was there's a lot of odd man rushes, not playing them correctly, a lot of penalties, just not cleaning things up and playing clean defensively. So I don't. You could put whoever in net, and they're probably going to struggle with this team on the defensive end, and especially in this league, you're not going to really outscore somebody without playing defense. Western's kind of been a little bit of an exception to the rule, but for the most part, you're not. You have to play solid defense.
Excuse you. Western has played great defense this year.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm
The
not
def-
saying that. I'm not saying this year. I'm saying
Oh.
over the past couple years,
Okay.
like with the
The-
offensive firepower that you guys have produced.
Yes, but the defense
Yeah.
is much improved this year over last year. I think for
Yeah.
sure that has been my complaint the last couple seasons. That
Yep.
And I think that's the main issue with Nodak is that they have no consistent defense.
well, what was it? They have like their most experienced defensive player is only a sophomore. Because remember last year they had to bring in all those transfer students who were like 5th-year guys, senior guys,
Their whole
To-
defensive core was
to
replaced.
to rebuild their decor. Yeah, but none of those guys
Mhm.
stayed. Like they still have
Yeah.
they have no upperclassmen in their decor. So their most experienced guy, like I said, has only played one full season of NCHC hockey. So they're still kind of piecing it back together and building it back from recruits and what new transfers they got in. And their goaltending has not been the best.
Well,
Whether it was Septon Filter or the rookie they played Friday night, who played decent out in Arizona against the Arizona State Sun Devils. At least earned the ability to start Friday, but honestly played well enough. I think he really should have got the start Saturday too. He went to overtime with again a top-rated Western offense, but they went to Septon Filter and did not work out for him.
Hobie Enquist, I think
Yeah.
his name is. He was sick the first night in Arizona. That's why he didn't play the first night.
Mm.
And they're now talking. Yes, we need to settle on one guy. But I don't know if Barry's fully comfortable selling on Hobie or not.
Yeah, I mean that's the one nice thing about where Western's at right now is we can really run either guy out there. It's helping Hampton get acclimated to the college schedule, to all the teams in the NCHC. It's also giving Cam a chance to shine one last time because he's not cut. This is it. He's done after this year, and both guys have really filled their role well. And Cam's stepped up and really improved his game, not having to be that everyday guy, and knowing that he's turning it over to a guy who can handle the workload and make the saves that he needs to. Like it's honestly fun watching both of those dudes play week in and week out.
But an interesting little tidbit. Hampton and Grant's father played for Nodak, but they weren't even looking at Hammer for a goalie because they don't accept goalies out of high school, and so he didn't commit to them. He committed to where his brother had interest, and that was Northern.
Yep.
And that's how that panned out. But I think it's Brad Berry's philosophy of just not I don't think he uses the transfer portal strategically.
No.
And that's where he's had problems.
He uses it to fill the hole he has instead of also like he doesn't use it for depth. He uses it for what he needs right now. I mean, this is the third year, fourth year where he's taken a upperclassman goaltender and made them the starter. Yep. The one that it really worked out for him was, I mean, you could say Ludwig Persson worked out a little bit, but he was in a better situation and we knew he was a solid goalie. But I think the the two before that, the one that came from Bemidji State was really the one that
Uh,
seemed to shine the brightest
Dr-
out after coming out of the portal.
Driscoll, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because the one
Yep.
after that was a kid who played at Michigan State who had kind of struggled at Michigan State. Not so much the way that Person did at Miami, but had his own struggles and wasn't as strong as I think they'd hoped him to be. But they didn't develop anybody behind him either. And then, uh, they bring in Ludwig last year. He plays well. I mean, we knew he was a good goalie, and it was going to be a little bit better situation for him there. They win the Penrose Cup, but they don't really get any further than that. And then they go back to the portal again for Septenfilter, who was the former goalie at Arizona State, who had played decent there, but they were an independent school, and it was hard for them to really make a whole lot of noise. And he would have been an NCHC goalie anyway.
I think the biggest thing, just going with North Dakota, and Wes knows this, I've harped on it. I don't know if Barry has the right culture there, because you look at how many guys he's having to bring into the transfer portal every year. He's losing. They're one of the top teams that are losing guys to the transfer portal, probably outside of Colorado College, and that's because Colorado College doesn't have any grad programs, that they just end up losing these guys out of pure necessity. They can't actually play there anymore.
But
And
they figure on that.
Yeah.
They figure on that.
They know they're a
Colorado
4-year
College.
school. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe 5 year if you're redshirting a year.
right. But like, my point is, like, they know that, but North Dakota guys they're transferring in for a year, and then they realize we don't want to be here. It's not that disproportionate number of grad students. There's a lot of younger guys that are transferring out of North Dakota. They're either turning pro, going to Ottawa, because that's where everybody goes from North Dakota, apparently. Kind of like Winnipeg with the Bulldogs. But then they're younger guys that are just like, this is not what we signed up for.
Well, I mean, you look at the Nodak fans' target this weekend was mostly Matteo Constantini. He played for Nodak for 2 years. I don't think he was guaranteed playing time from Barry going forward, and that's why he transferred.
Yeah, he played pretty well his freshman year. I think he had an injury his sophomore year, and then was trying to get back, and there was some discussion had about what his position would be, and there was an option for them to split, and he's come to Western. And I think Mike will tell you, the second I saw his name pop up on the transfer portal as committed to Western, I was freaking stoked. Like, I enjoyed watching him play for Nodak as a freshman, but also hated the fact that he was at Nodak. And when I like legit was like, oh shit, that was the name on the transfer portal. I was stoked that he was coming here, and he's played well for us. I've enjoyed watching him play here. His parents are like at every game. They're super nice. And he's fit in well with the guys. I mean, he's worked his way back up to a top line, and has played pretty much along the lineup, and has fit well with everybody. So he's definitely found a spot here, and I think everybody in the Lost of Lunatic section freaking loves him.
Yeah, and he was pretty much on every assist.
Yeah.
This weekend. So.
And that's the thing too, though. It seems like every guy that transfers into Western, there's that culture now where it's an easy transition for them.
Certainly seems to be.
You're not seeing guys that really struggle to fit in. They don't seem like they're kind of skating around trying to get their own. They're there. They're a part of the team. They become fan favorites, and they just gel right into with what vision that Firsch has.
And I mean, I don't know if it's and the student section and the community as a whole doesn't really care where guys come from. I think
Mhm.
last year Joe Cassetti was a fan favorite, and that's a dude who transferred from the rival Miami. This year, Robbie Drasner has become a name that a lot of people have recognized and has played well for Western after coming up from Miami. Um, the only guy I think that Cole Birch was here early in the year after transferring up to Ferris. Nothing was, I don't know that anything was really said derogatorily towards him. I didn't hear anything during the games. Uh, the weekend, Alaska Anchorage was here. Jared White, who had played 2 seasons at Western, was skating for the Seawolves. Nothing was really made of it. Maybe a lot of people didn't remember, or there's just a lack of hockey knowledge amongst the student section to really like go the steps that
Well, like
a North Dakota
Birch had
goes.
what, 3-4 games?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, the year he
Yeah.
transferred, he was getting into the lineup a little more often and was playing well. And that was kind of why I was a little bit surprised to see them go away from him. I thought he was going to have more of a role this year at Western, and then didn't work out that way. But no hard feelings, really.
Right. And I think ASU and Western have done the transfer portal the right way. I don't think Duluth can figure it out yet.
We're not we're not losing many transfers though, and we're not
Right.
bringing in many transfers. That's
No, yours is a whole different problem. I don't understand your guys' problem. I don't know if it's just like it takes a while to get guys into what Sandlin wants to be the Bulldog way to say, but I mean, with the talent that they brought in this year, he was supposed to be the top recruiting class. It's highly underwhelmed expectations of I think where they should have been or where they should be and the hockey that they should be playing.
yeah, you know how excited I was with this freshman class at the beginning of the season. I didn't expect them to go out and win the Penrose or anything, but I expected them to take a step up, and they're not there. And Wes and I, we were discussing this with Trevor. I don't know if it's the message necessarily gets stale from the coaching staff because there's so much turnover in college sports that at the most, with the exception of this weird stretch with COVID and everything, you're getting guys for 5 years at the tops, but 4, maybe 3. And the guys that are there for 4 years, they're already that invested. Um, I just don't know if we're that young and they haven't developed or what the thing is, but Shagabe, I was just looking, I didn't realize now it makes sense. Hampton was teammates with Shagabe in high school, and I was like, oh yeah, that was a really good team in War Road. Um, Difference between how people are performing, different positions, different coaching systems. I don't know. I just don't know what our problem is.
All right, so I got a point from the chat here. Brent is hanging out in the chat. So hi Brent. Uh
Hi, Brent's mom.
I think we've associated Nodak with the Chicago Blackhawks more than once, just because, like, let's be real, they're trying to create that same feel, from the previous logo to the goal song. Like, they want to be the college version of the Chicago Blackhawks. I think from a marketing standpoint, they're a lot closer to the Dallas Cowboys, and it's a whole lot of flash, but not a lot of results on the playing surface.
It was interesting. Fans under the age of 60 would give me heck for wearing our Broncos gear. But those over 60 came up to us, said, your team played awesome. We like that style of play. They're going to go far. One guy at dinner said, yeah, my cabin in Devil's Lake is right next to Andy Murray. But there was great respect for the team. They were disappointed on how Nodak played, and usually the younger fans were all quick to do fire Bradbury, or put in Hobie on Saturday night. But the older fans are going to give him a little bit of leeway because he's 100 games over 500, and he's got a winning record.
He does just enough to keep his job safe. When you think it's a low team or an underachieving team, they come out and they win the Penrose. If they don't win the Penrose, they're in the finals for the Frozen Face-Off. They might get bounced early in the NCAA tournament, but he does enough to know that he's a good NCHC coach, right? At some point, for Nodek, it feels like they have to make a decision where, is that good enough? I mean, we're at, what, 10 years? Almost 10 years of Barry behind the bench since Hextall left for the NHL, and he has one national championship that was really more Hextall's team than it was his. He just was behind the bench for them to win the national title. 7 years?
They won 7 would make sense. 7 or 8, but
yeah,
2017, because it was them. No, 20. It's
18,
more than
19
that.
were Duluth, right? Because they were expected to go back for 20. So I think we won 3, or the NCHC won 3 in a row, so they would have been 17.
No, it was Denver, because I was at that one. It was Denver, UMD, because it was Denver beat UMD in the national championship game in Chicago.
Gotcha.
And then then we went back to back.
So maybe it is.
I think it was 20.
14.
No, I was living in the city. I think it was 2016 that they won.
2016. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, like, we're 8 years next.
Yeah, 8 years.
Close enough to less than 10, but more than 5.
Yeah.
But really, like I said, I mean, that team was really considered to be more Hextall's team, and it wasn't even until I think like 2020 that they didn't have a guy who was recruited by Hextall on the team anymore. So it was really Bradbury's team coming in, and we've seen the guys he's recruit struggle a little bit. Him dip into the portal, have some success for a year. Once all those guys leave, you either try to bring in new recruits and struggle again, or dip into the portal heavily again, and it's a toss-up as to whether or not they're going to be decent or not. And they were decent last year after a heavy dip in the portal. And they struggled a little bit non-conference wise this year. They got it going once conference play started, and they're 1-3. Yes, with an overtime win in their last 4 games against Arizona State and Western Michigan.
What was their position in the St. Louis Regional?
They were the 3 seed in the St. Louis.
Yeah, because
we were 4, Michigan State was 1, and Michigan was 2.
Okay. I thought they played a weak game against Michigan.
Yeah. They had, because they were ahead of us both they won the Penrose. They were definitely ahead of us in the pairwise in the regular rankings.
Right.
So we were 4, and they were at least 3. They were 2 or 3. I don't remember who was technically considered the home team that one. Who was? They might have been 2. Because I think them and Michigan State came out of the same and played on the same side, and Western and Michigan came out of the same tunnel.
Yeah.
I stayed for that game, but I don't remember that game because I was so salty about the Western finish. But I had also spent 6 hours in the car, and I was not willing to get back in the car to drive back to the hotel yet after that game was over. So I stayed and watched the North Dakota Michigan game.
I hear you, but I think we've had our disappointment game against BC. We've gotten that out of the way early in the season. And that's why I think this team will go further in the playoffs.
The Michigan State GLI game was a little bit of a disappointment too. That their goalie played extremely well It was another situation where once we got tied up in our own zone and we couldn't figure out how to get the puck out of across our blue line, we just kind of fell apart a little bit and gave too many opportunities that any team is going to score on. We did not do that this weekend. The 2 goals on Friday were good plays that chipped pucks behind the defense, and one was a breakaway. The other one was wasn't a breakaway, but it was a good setup and pass play. It wasn't like they're jamming and getting 3, 4, 5 opportunities, kind of like Western was at the other end. Honestly, like the Nodek defense did not do anything to help their goaltenders either night. Even if you go back and watch Bump's overtime goal, like there is nobody around Michaels in front of Hobie, and he's just trying to jam the puck away because he doesn't realize that
it went in.
That Bump had scored like between his legs, and he gets a good 3-4 whacks at it before the referee's like, "Hey, dipshit, you guys won." And the North Dakota player comes over and is like, "Will you stop? You guys won already. Go celebrate with your team." But he's just jamming at the loose puck like, "Hey, the puck's here, puck's here, puck's here, puck's here." So yeah, Nodek did nothing to help their goalie. Miami did Miami things. They were swept by Nebraska. Man, I want them to be good so bad. I'm not saying they have to beat other teams, but if they could get a win here and there and like make it competitive,
just get a win. Period.
But,
yeah.
I mean, it's sustaining play for the full 60 minutes with them.
Yeah.
I mean, they've held so many
Nebraska,
teams.
Omaha. I'm sorry, Brent. Nebraska, Omaha.
They've been with so many teams until for that first 40 minutes, and then they like take the stupid 5-minute major. Yeah.
And Miami, they're a team right now after they lost the only 2 good players that they had last year in Red Savage and Ludwig Persson. You can't afford to take any time off if you want to even stand a chance to win a game.
Well, what was it? Over break, like the coach came out and said that we're working on conditioning or something. And it's like if you're at the halfway point and you're still working on conditioning, like it is not gonna be a great season for you.
Well, he still has a couple of years to formulate his true team.
Oh yeah. No doubt for sure. I'm just saying, like, if that's the message you're sending at the halfway point, like you guys, you haven't been able to convince them to like be at a point. You should not be conditioning halfway through the season. You should be in game shape by this point.
You're not going into the Northern Michigan situation where you don't even know if you're going to have a team. Like, you have players. You should be able to at least try to mold them because you have a camp where in Northern Michigan, they're like,
hey, props to Northern for getting the sweep this weekend.
I was going to say, Northern's won some games. At the GLI, we were chanting 1 win. They have a couple more than that
now. They got the sweep this weekend. So, they're building on something. But on your point of messaging, I sent these to you. The messaging from the CC coach Mayotte and from Brad Berry are eerily similar. Just very down in the mouth and kind of mulling of, I don't know what it's going to take to motivate this team to get them to score.
And I think there's a similar feel to the team if you look at the teams. Colorado College is a little bit ahead because they do still have some experienced guys on their team, even though they did lose, their 5th round guys, the guys that had really been around for 3 years with Mayotte, and this would have been their 4th year had they had the opportunity. And then, like we were talking about earlier with North Dakota, nobody on their defensive side is really, there's no upperclassmen there. Your upperclassmen are on your offense, and their offense hasn't been terrible, but they're not a cohesive team, and their goaltender, one is a upperclassman guy in Septon Filter, and then you got Hobie who's younger. So that but there's this. I don't know if it's the more experienced guys are just not passing the message along, because that is not the case at Western Michigan. I think if you listen to any interview that Ferschweiler does, and they mention how quickly a guy's been brought in, what's the first thing he says? Talk to Washi about that. Washi's done a great job bringing everybody together and making everybody a part of the team. Like the team is based. He doesn't even see the teams based on his personality. He's like, that team is based on Tim Washi. He controls that locker room, commands that locker room, and has gotten everybody to pull together. Like the way he speaks about the team. And then if you hear players who have played under Firsch, like the first thing they say is Firsch is a great coach and put us in a position to be successful. And it's why guys want to come here. I think that was one of the things that, when we talked to Colangelo, he talked highly of the coaching staff that he got a chance to talk to for however long. Tristan said the same thing. Like the coaching staff was a big part of why he wanted to come here. And then, so they both speak highly of each other, both the players and the coaching staff.
And I think you could even say that message, I know we've talked about it, Wes, from the older guys being passed down to the younger guys. You look at that stretch that UMD had, you're getting young guys coming in and they're getting that message and they're playing the right ways. So they're replacing the guys that have graduated out or moved on. And now I don't think those messages are getting through and they're not being told to the younger players. And not to say that those guys are bad leaders or anything, but I think there's less accountability in some of these programs from the older players to the younger players and saying, hey, you don't do this. You got to figure it out. Otherwise, we're going to have issues here.
Yeah. Also, Northern has one more win than Miami right now. Miami's 3-17-2. Northern is 4-19-1. So, just a little fun fact for him.
On New Year's Eve, we had more wins than Miami playing Chell.
Yeah, that's true. But all right, let's steer away. We've talked a good amount about last weekend. I want to talk about Jason a little bit here. He is our special guest.
Okay.
Not what you would say is a common route to become a Western fan.
No.
So fill us in on a little bit of how you got to be a Western fan, and how long you've been a season ticket holder. We'll start there.
Well, like Mike, I came from a small D3 school, Albion College, who had to decide between horses and a hockey arena to attract more students, and they decided on horses. But my mom is a Western alum, went for education, and so I wasn't unfamiliar with the school. But I started to go when my buddy was in a master's program at Western, and that would sort of be our weekend hangout, when it was good and bad and ugly. And, he right now is in Boise, Idaho, and he still tunes into Western games. But now I have to get him all the swag. But in, let's see, 2016, I was with my young wife, and I said, "Oh, Western's in the playoffs against Omaha, and let's go to the game." And she's from New Jersey, and she said, "I don't know," but she said she tried out for one game, and she got face to face with the Lunatics. I was like, "This is awesome." I I like any sport where I can yell and scream and say mean things, and that that basically uh, started us off on our love of Western hockey. I think the first year we had, the pick six plan to kind of see where we felt comfortable being season ticket holders, and then I think 2018 we took the plunge. 2 years ago, we said, "Hey, Western's playing in Alaska. Let's fly to Alaska." I had enough Delta points. Yeah, we can do this, and we went to Alaska. And in the middle of COVID and such, we're walking around a park in Anchorage and meet Dylan Went's parents. And Went's mom worked at the same place where my wife first worked in Michigan, and and then we've slowly become these super fans to the parents. And so a lot of the parents will come to us and go, I have this jersey. It doesn't have Wash. It's number 16, but it doesn't have Washy's number on the back. Or it doesn't have his name on the back. It has mine, because this is to commemorate the year I got married. And Washy's grandma and aunt came up to me and said, "Why do you have my grandson / nephew's jersey and not his name on the back?" And I had to explain, I respect your son tremendously. His dad, you know, always is polite and comes up to us and is all hugs and how you doing? And that's kind of the way with all the families I've met. I mean, heck, the whole Kinski clan was there for Morad. I mean, it took up like 24 seats or something.
Yeah,
something, but it's only a 2.5 hour drive for them. So
yeah, no, their trip to North Dakota is way more fuel efficient than the trips they've been taking to Kalamazoo, because they've been here like almost every weekend, and they were at the GLI.
They were there every weekend, and then they went to the GLI and then went up to Ottawa to see Hampton play.
Yeah.
I mean, to drive 15 hours and then say, "Oh, we gotta scoot and drive another 9 hours."
Yeah, because I mean, even where I'm going ice fishing again at the end of February, and Warroad's kind of the closest town. It's kind of where I go is going to be in between two cities, but Warroad's one of those. It's about a 5.5 hour, 6 hour drive from the Twin Cities to get up there. They're up in the middle of nowhere.
I mean, they're closer to Canada than they are to most places in Minnesota.
Oh yeah. You get up there and your phone starts freaking out because it doesn't know if you're in the US or Canada. So sometimes you connect to the Canadian.
You do not have to go all the way to Warroad, Minnesota for that to happen. It will also happen in Detroit.
Yes.
I know, because you're down there. I'm just
saying that had to happen a couple weeks ago. I was at a friend's wedding, and my phone kept thinking I was in Canada because I was apparently standing too high above the Detroit River.
Heck, if I'm on a Lake Michigan beach, sometimes it thinks I'm in Illinois. So
my phone doesn't know where I'm at half the time. I'll be in my house and it thinks I'm in Grand Rapids. Like, no, I'm not, phone. I don't know what you're connecting to, but it's not it. Let's settle down. But yeah, no, you and your wife have made some big trips. I was looking at the calendar. Like, I think maybe the only games you guys have missed this season might be the series in Omaha.
Yeah, we were
Or in
not
Duluth.
going to Omaha. We didn't go to Duluth. We're probably not going to Miami, but we're going to the Springs, and uh, yeah, we're going to the Springs, and we went to Boston. And let me tell you, their seats compared to what North Dakota was offering, um, we had center ice seats, uh, ice level in Boston. We were in the nosebleeds in North Dakota.
Yeah.
I mean, just that's how they treat outside fans.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
also
And
looking at everything there is in Boston. That was
oh yeah,
early. That was still. I mean, that was around Halloween, so you still had
yeah,
pro hockey going on. Uh, there might have been. I think baseball would have been done for them by then, but you have football going on.
You got
basketball starting
yep,
up.
Basketball
the
Yeah.
starting up.
Celtics.
And then if you look at North Dakota, it doesn't really matter what time of the year it is. The most competition they're going to have is maybe their football program. And your wife said that you're lying. You are going to Miami.
Oh,
So,
that's news to me. That's
uh,
Well,
news to me.
I already thought he was lying because he said someone from New Jersey liking a sporting event that they can yell, and I'm like, no, never from New Jersey. They wouldn't like to yell and be loud at a
and
sporting
and
event.
and my wife got in trouble because she started the lunatic chants at my nephew's football games, and my sister-in-law said, "Stop it! You're gonna get us kicked out."
nice.
Now, if she was
Yeah,
from Philly, she probably would have gotten you kicked out. But
no, they don't care in Philly.
That's true. Everyone's doing it in Philly. But yeah, I think what was it? A couple years ago, you guys got mistaken for a player's parents by making a trip out to see somebody
Oh
make their
yeah,
NHL debut.
we went out to Philly to see Ronnie play in his NHL debut, and they said, "Are you Ronnie's parents?" Just- yeah, but after that confusion, they handed us a beer, and everything was right in the world. So
that is
yeah,
the one cool thing about meeting the parents, though. They always seem down to earth, especially, I mean, I've only met Ethan's dad, but it seems like a lot of these D1 college hockey players, and I actually have the Gopher basketball game on right now because I know one of the kids playing, but the parents always seem so down to earth and so nice, and that goes down to their kids, that instead of like the D3 small schools that we go to, the kids come in there, they look like they're Shoresy, basically playing senior whale shit hockey, thinking that they can just slay versus being a good person and making a career out of it. And yeah, you probably heard when I met Ethan's dad at the Frozen Face Off championship game. I just saw the 26. I'm like, "You're Ethan's dad, aren't you?" And he goes, "Yeah." Well, I'm gonna be talking to you in a couple weeks. Here, have a beer. I bought him a beer. And it was because guys were giving him a hard time. They're like, "Why are you wearing this Western stuff? What's the number 26?" And I'm like, I know exactly who that is because there's like nobody else here that would be wearing a quarter zip with the number 26 on it. And
hmm
he was just the nicest guy ever.
yeah, and we've we have carried on friendships, and the parents look to see where we are because they it's exciting because there are very few travel fans um, out there. I mean, it's not like North Dakota,
Mhm.
um, but uh, we've we've just we've just especially this season, made a point to try to get to as many uh, uh, away games as possible. And we're I guess I'm going to two more places that I didn't think I was going to, but hey, we're gonna have fun.
Yeah, no, I've tried to get to a few. I've gotten to a few away games. I want to get to a few more. Um, now we got the little one, so it's picking and choosing what we're gonna do or who's gonna go. Um, but always fun. It's always fun to see another a familiar face when you make a long trip for sure. Um, and really just building that community that's willing to support the team, whether it's home or away. I think that the players kind of enjoy seeing a familiar face too, honestly, in the crowd, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing that like even though the team's away, like there's still a group of people who are cheering for them, whether they're it's home or away, and like to see a couple people make the trip would probably be a bit of a boost to me if I were playing.
Well, it got so cavernous Saturday night. After that fourth and fifth goal, you can hear the Western fans and the nosebleeds and the upper decks
Yeah.
cheering.
Well, and I think even Sam, when we were in Nashville, when we talked with him about us just being there, he looked and he saw you and he's like, Jesus, this dude does this for his team? Like he was confused. I mean, so was I, but there was other reasons for that. They noticed it. Even the other team, they noticed the fans there, and that makes it fun, I think, for the players because it's like, okay, well, they have this team, we got to shut them up, make their trip disappointing, and the guys from Western or UMD or wherever, and they see their fans there, they're like, we got to show up for them. They traveled to watch us play. We got to actually play this game and do the best we can and try to win it for them.
I mean, when I was in Boston, the BC fans, thanked me for coming, and you know, maybe they don't know where Kalamazoo is. I know a Nodak fan asked me, is Kalamazoo in the upper or lower peninsula? And he lives in the Twin Cities. So, yeah.
You're PJ Fleck, coach there. I'm sorry, like I'm a UMD hockey fan, but I'm Gophers for the rest of it
but
because
it doesn't add up to them, and I don't know. Maybe he failed geography. I don't know.
Oh,
we call them Cityots where I'm from.
So here's what I wanted to ask you, because you and I have both been to a few places, and you've now been to Nodak. I need to get out there. How was the overall experience? How was the student section? How was the student section versus community? Because at Western, the student section runs the building. Like we know that. There's the community is there, but the student section runs that building.
The student section is crammed into an upper and lower deck section.
Okay.
And then the band is right next to them. And that's pretty much where the students are. And it's, right next to the penalty box, where most sections are. I mean, this is a 12,000 seat arena, so it's like a small NHL arena.
Right.
The concessions, I think that's where you see its age, but they have an NHL type scoreboard with the rotating and all the things, and there's pyrotechnics when they score a goal, and they have their obnoxious goal song and all that good stuff.
Do they go straight goal? Yeah, they go straight goal song. I mean, I've watched them on TV.
Yeah.
Does their band? Do they do their fight song?
Yeah, they do. They do their fight song after after the horn goal song.
Okay.
But yeah, they kind of wait. And, like Saturday, they scored the goal. It provided life for about 15 minutes. I mean, the other thing is, like, if you're into 50-50, their 50-50 is a guaranteed to start at 20 grand.
Jesus.
Yes. So, and it's just like the 50-50 at Western.
Yeah.
And, uh, they're supposedly always a sellout, but Friday night, it was bad weather. I would say maybe 50% of the seats were filled.
Yeah, you could see it on NCHC that it was not full. But again, it's
Right.
sellout versus full attendance are two different metrics, and they will
Mhm.
say sellout. Even I think they've even said like Western has had a sellout and it's been like a third full, and you're like, well, cool. I'm glad you sold all the tickets. Now just get the people here.
Right.
But I mean, the weather up there is completely different than our weather, so it
And,
makes sense.
and like BC, their student sections basically most of the upper deck. So when they scored, it was cacophonous and it just sort of enveloped you. But the community comes out for that too, and their hockey stadium is right next to their football stadium, so it's all there in suburban Boston.
And I think too, probably the fans that are coming, they're not coming from all over the place like they are for a North Dakota or a UMD or even a St. Cloud. Because if you want to be with like close to your school, a BC, a BU, you're probably living closer to that area. Otherwise, you're just going to go. There's so many schools within such a small area. You look at the ECAC and how they're playing one school one night and then they're playing another one the next night. Um, the the weather and the fans are going to be different because
Yeah,
like North Dakota weather is different. UMD,
but
we have the lake effect.
I'd say the
Kalamazoo.
Ralph is the second nicest stadium that I've been to. I would say Compton at Notre Dame is probably the top college stadium, that arena.
I need to go there. It's only what, an hour away from Kalamazoo, hour and a half, something like that. It's close. I think it's
There,
closer to them than it is to Ferris.
yeah, it's an hour 15.
Yeah, so slightly closer than Ferris. But we just
Yes.
don't schedule them like we used to.
No, but there are no ads on any of the boards. Best concessions anywhere. I mean,
Did you? Okay,
uh,
I think we kind of talked about this on in messaging back and forth. But
yeah,
were you underwhelmed with the experience on a fan side at Yost at the Michigan game?
I'm always I always we hurt because the way the angles of the seats are, uh, from where your legs have to be.
Yeah.
Your knees are almost next to your ears.
Everything is like that
And
roll away bleacher from high school design. It's that hard plastic.
yes,
There's no back support. But like for me, it was like one, when the football team came out, I couldn't tell you a single word that was said by that coach or any of the players. I have no
no,
idea what the hell they were talking about. I could barely hear the band. I think it was a smaller band because it was it was during the Thanksgiving break.
mhm.
The student section again was smaller due to it being on break, but even they seem to be small. I happen to be sitting next to what came of the Lawson Lunatics, and they were louder, but it just sound didn't travel in that building. Everything felt muted, even the
But even if you
the
were at
announcements for the
the
goals.
at the October games, back when we had that, real testy series a couple of
Yeah.
years ago, uh, the acoustics are just terrible there.
Yeah.
And the one nice thing about Nodak was that it's all leather seats. I mean, you don't get that in some NHL arenas. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, everything was top notch, and it's almost a 25-year-old arena.
Yeah.
I mean, it is their pro sports team.
Yeah.
Oh
right.
yeah.
I think part of it at U of M is just it's built. Okay, everyone calls it a cathedral for college hockey because that's really what it looks like when you're inside. They have the big glass windows, the high steeple ceiling. It's just not a good environment on the side of being a fan there. I don't know. Maybe the as a player is a fun experience, and it sounds completely different, but following it's easy. I mean, it doesn't even seem like it's depending on where you're sitting because I was behind the goalie, so the game is in front of me. It's easy for me to follow the game. I don't know that it would have been like even the angle of the way the seats are compared to the ice. Like it was easy to see the game in all of the spots. I mean, Western, there's a couple spots, maybe it's harder to see, but they have the stanchionless glass, the continuous plexiglass or whatever, so you don't have the metal stanchions in the way. I have to fight with those at my seat. I'm like, am I over here? Am I over here? Then Buster decides he wants to bang on the glass right in front of me, and I rip that horse's tail off and make him eat it if he does it again. But there was certain times where like I was looking at the people on the side of the ice. I'm like, how do you see what is happening down there? Like it's so like perpendicular and just straight up and down.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
Yeah.
that's my feelings on Yost.
And St. Cloud.
Oh, those seats are
that arena.
terrible. It's so uncomfortable.
I think they tie with Yost on uncomfortable building.
I hate that arena.
Back hurt more at Yost, but my hips were killing me after St. Cloud. And my legs kept falling asleep.
Yeah, that was kind of funny though.
Yeah.
It was entertaining for me to watch you struggle.
Dude, I'll tell you what, there's that clip after the overtime win. I don't know how the hell I'm standing up because I could not feel my legs when I celebrated Bump scoring the overtime game-winning goal from that Friday night game.
Yeah, because I went up Saturday.
Yeah, you went up Saturday, but it was on CBS Sports Network, and there's a really nice clip of the goal and then me behind the bench like losing my shit. Is there a series or some teams that you wish Western would play more often? Like for me, I would like to see them have a series with Notre Dame. I'd like to see them get a series going again with Michigan State. Like even if you have to rotate Michigan and Michigan State, I'm fine with that. But I would like to see Michigan State play here again.
Yeah, I like to have more interactions with our old CCHA foes.
I mean, the only one we play super consistently is Ferris. Bowling Green has been pretty consistent with a home and home series with them a few years, but
because they had the icebreaker, we had to do the game out in BC. Yeah. Now we're going to do the quick trip with BC next year, so that'll be something.
Yeah, next year is to the quick trip. Then the following year it's back to the GLI.
Yeah, part of me is like, yeah, it'd be great to play our non-conference games against some of our old foes. Then there's also part of me like, the reason why we're ranked so high is because we played the top-notch talented teams early in the season.
Yeah, Michigan State was one of those teams this year. I mean, when we played Michigan, they were pretty highly ranked. But it would be nice to get some to cycle in some other teams or to work in some different teams. Like I'd like to see some more East Coast teams come out here. Like I'd like to have a weekend series with a BC or a BU. It would be fun to see Northeastern again. We played them in the regional final the one year and then played them in Nashville the following year for the one game.
Or even Providence.
Providence would be a fun series.
Yeah.
Penn State. We've never played Penn State, or at least I don't remember us having played Penn State yet because they had just gotten to the D1 ranks the last couple of years of the CCHA, and that's why they had to form the Big Ten. So I don't know that we've ever had a series with them. That'd be a fun series, either in Pennsylvania or here at Lawson. Ohio State would be fun to play again. I think we played them a couple years ago. Maybe during the COVID year, I think in an exhibition we played them when you could have NCAA D1 schools as exhibition partners. Like the first year that started, that was a game or series we did.
I think some of the cool ones that would be to get out, because you're always playing like UMD. We've had Cornell, and you get some of those big city schools, but get a Maine, a New Hampshire, a Vermont.
Harvard.
Well,
Yeah,
Maine's coach is a Western coach, former Western coach.
Yeah.
and I think from what I've heard, just listening to hockey podcasts and stuff, they're kind of coming back on the rise again, because the last time that they at least were relevant in my mind were when the Gophers beat them in the national championship in like 2002. But that's because I don't pay attention to hockey out east, so it would be fun to see them again. I guess more recent, Thiessen, he came from Maine, but you looked at his numbers and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get what I'm gonna get playing for the Bulldogs. But I think there's the old high school coach from when I was growing up. He's third or fourth all time at Vermont in points. So there's Minnesota ties there, uh, especially northern Minnesota. Get them to come play, maybe do something with that. Who knows? There's so many things that can be done with a lot of these other schools. It's just tough scheduling wise.
Yeah, that's partly how we got St. Lawrence to come here. Was their head coach was a teammate of Furschweiler's when they were both at Western. I think another one of Pat's teammates is took over a team last year. This just this last year. This is his first year there. I know that from listening to 2 L's and Hockey Tales with Wally. Which if you're not listening to that podcast, you should. It's a fun podcast.
Yeah.
He's a great dude.
But by the way, Robert Morris is not the one.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah.
No, I meant to do
Robert
this earlier
Morris
when my computer went blue screen. We have a couple corrections to make from last week. It was AIC that is losing their program, who I said originally and somehow got talked out of it, not Robert Morris. And it is the AIC coach who is trying to set up the transfer portal showcase down in, I think, St. Louis, or the St. Louis area. For I want to say like June.
Isn't AIC the one
it's the week between the regionals and the finals?
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, that would make more sense since the finals are in St. Louis this year. So to get
Isn't AIC the one too that they like always get the automatic bid for the last few years from Atlantic Hockey?
They for a number of years they were.
Yeah.
And they're just like 1,300 students.
Yeah, they're a very small school. But because one of the Western players played there, and he had transferred there the first time they lost their program, or transferred from there when they first lost their program, and then they were wondering if he was going to transfer back when he put his name in the transfer portal for this year, and he was like, "Nope, I'm going to go to Western instead."
Yeah.
Didn't they make? I thought they made a Frozen Four. They beat somebody though that was big. I think I want to say they beat St. Cloud. That's right. They beat St. Cloud, which made me really happy because I could talk mad shit to one of my friends who was talking shit about UMD, and I'm like, "Huh, you guys lost to a team from Atlantic Hockey, where the biggest school is 25 homeschool kids."
All right, so let's wrap her up. We've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes with us being late, and then the hiccup, and then all the other crap that happened. But
the couple hiccups.
Yeah. So first and foremost, top memory watching Western hockey.
Ooh. I would have to say, the Michigan game that we won uh, a couple of years ago, when no one was counting on us to even win, and then nearly winning Saturday, but
Mm.
the refs got in the way.
The overtime game.
Yes, that pesky overtime game. Uh, that was just electric. I mean, there's been so many. I mean, Alaska was great. The regionals last year, up until the final couple minutes, uh, were great. But it, and that's why I try to stay positive on Western, because you know we've talked about a certain commentator on Twitter that is very negative anytime that Western falters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the way he did it was he replied to a direct tweet from the program, and the kids see that.
Yeah.
And you can have those opinions, but put them as your own in your own thread.
Oh, for
Don't
sure.
don't I hate to see that affecting some player, because I don't think that's a positive stance
No, for sure.
to take, because we're trying to build players up, and we're not trying to take them down.
Yeah, no, I definitely try and keep a more positive approach to my Twitter feed. Um, I'll tweet more during away games than I will home games for sure. I've kind of
Mm-hmm.
regulated it or relegated it to just being goal calls, um, because I'm there to watch the game like everybody else. There was a time I tried to live tweet during games at home games, and I'm like, this is stupid. I'm wasting my money as a season ticket holder. Why am I staring at a screen when everything I want to see is in front of me? And that's, if anyone's wondering, that's the reason why I don't straight live tweet games. I'm watching the game. I'm there to see the players, and I'll celebrate the goals, and I'll tweet Western's goals. I don't even tweet the away goals anymore
No, you don't.
unless it's like a great play by them, or it's a pivotal moment that like maybe ties the game up. But it's a Western goal, that's all I'll tweet. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And even when I do, like, I do try to be mostly positive. Every once in a while, you'll catch a moment like, what could we just play defense for 5 minutes here and there? But that's just, and I don't tweet it at Western Hockey or at any specific player. Just throw it out into the universe. Just like,
Well, and I think there's a difference too, where you're just, if there's a fact that you see something that you can go back on the film and see that like he missed his assignment, or why, like, this is what happened. There's a difference. You're not tearing the kid down.
no.
Yeah, he's gonna know it too, but anybody that's not watching, it's like,
Yeah. I
oh
mean,
yeah,
even
he
I
got
think,
caught puck watching.
yeah, I think the couple of times where we've looked at something after a game, I was kind of like, this is how I wish it would have gone. Like, I get why you made this play here, but I think the better play would have been to go this way with it.
Mm-hmm.
Is one that stands out as like a pass back to the middle that just got picked off when we could have just wrapped it around the boards, would have been the smarter, simpler play. But I mean, seeing that from the outside, not being in the position, is definitely two different things. So it's not like
Yeah, and when you sit that
and
close to the
seeing
glass,
and more
seeing
often
the
than not, I'm
games
being angry about
live,
the refs.
I'm seeing more of kind of how that developed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think on TV the BC game looked like a total complete breakdown, and in those final minutes, and it was just puck didn't quite get to where it should have gone, and
Yeah.
they, Ryan Leonard did Ryan Leonard things.
And I think even just seeing it, Wes, you sit really close. Um, I've sat in St. Cloud on, can't remember which end it is, but down low, you see it differently in the speed of which these kids have to make these decisions versus when you're sitting up higher on the side or whatever, where you can see the play develop, and it makes it easier for us to criticize. Well, yeah, that would have been the smarter play. Well, it takes me about half a period to even get used to how fast the puck is going if I'm in St. Cloud sitting right behind the end line, like, or the goal line. Like, oh wait, the puck's over there, and I'm looking over at, the bench. It was over there 5 seconds ago. So you kind of have to appreciate how quickly they make these decisions too, and it's easy to armchair.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions, Mac?
I mean, other than the typical of what his reaction was the first time he saw your stupid face
Well,
painted.
I mean, you could have worded it nicer.
See, I
See,
remember
we
seeing
we
him
already
as a
knew this
student.
one though.
There's no reason to be rude.
I remember seeing him as a student in doing that, so that was completely normal for me. Um, so yeah, if you the number of different characters that have come through the Lunatics, I mean, they're kind of tame now compared to what they were. I mean, they had the a guy kind of doing the Green Man from Vancouver
Oh yeah.
for a time, yeah, and they had much more descriptive chants. And I had to explain to one of the lunatics at the GLI why we don't have kids riding on Zambonis anymore. Yes, the whole good W versus bad W.
If you want to know what a bad W is.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you for the visual, even though I knew what you were saying.
Hey, look, I'm just saying, if Arizona State's allowed to walk around like this, give us the fancy W back.
I had to explain that to one of my admissions counselors one time at college, and I had her husband as a high school teacher, so that was really awkward. I guess the last question, we kind of touched on it on arenas, but what's the one arena that you want to go to that you haven't been to yet to go watch a game?
I'd like to see Maine's. I've heard so many good things about Maine's arena that it's a lot like Westerns with the students and such. That's one that I hope to get to, and yeah. So are you guys going to do your picks?
Oh yeah, I guess we could do that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Western is hosting Miami this weekend. That's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Do we really have to pick this series?
No, I think this one's automatic, unfortunately.
Hey, don't let this be a trap game. I swear,
No.
if we lose one game to Miami 2 years in a row, I will be highly upset and critical of everybody on the ice. I just want that to be known. I mean that playfully, but seriously also.
If there's a team that's
I
going to
will
lose to
judge
Miami,
all of you wholly and harshly if you lose to Miami this season. This season.
How many years in a row have you made fun of me for UMD losing a game to Miami now?
All the time. Every time it happens. Every
So-
single time. But
so,
we
You're fine.
I couldn't even do that last year because we were their sole freaking conference loss or win last year. So let's not do that again this year, shall we? Please?
Yes.
Please and thank you. That should be a Western sweep, but I hate to say
Mhm.
should be because anything can happen and sometimes does. St. Cloud makes the trip south to Nebraska, Omaha. That feels like it could be a good series.
I think
I would say Omaha's playing better than St. Cloud right now, though.
Yeah, playing better and has a better goaltender.
Because what is it? St. Cloud.
Bosch is still injured.
They no, they split with no, did they? No, they got swept by Arizona State. That's right, because
Mhm.
we needed them
Yep.
to not do that.
Yep.
Hmm.
They St. Cloud's lost 4 straight. They got
They're
swept
Yep.
by Duluth and Arizona State. So maroon and gold is not a good color if you're a St. Cloud Husky. Struggling with the
they're
maroon and gold. Luckily, Omaha does not wear maroon or gold. They wear black and red. So
the same as the Huskies.
yeah, there you
Damn
go.
smart. Um, they, I think with St. Cloud, they they're going through that little rough patch now where they had really good teams the last few years, and now a lot of those guys have gone away, especially Micah Miller, who was there for 42 and a half years.
It certainly felt that
Um,
way.
like they had guys that felt like they were there for a decade, and now those guys are gone. So they're not doing the full rebuild and they're not doing the full reload. They're kind of in that limbo area of they have some guys that are still there. They just don't have enough of them.
I mean,
And Omaha, they've built this team up over the last couple of years.
and kind of the surprising thing was St. Cloud was up on the Friday game. They were up like what 3-0 on Arizona State, and Arizona State came back and just trounced them.
Yeah.
But that Friday night game is the CBS Sports Network game. It could go either way, but again, I think Omaha is playing better, but St. Cloud's got to figure it out, and they've been in competitive games. They've just got to play 60 minutes. I think it's going to be a split, though. I really do.
Hmm. I
It's
I'm hoping for a split, but my gut tells me Omaha
I just
is going to play them tough.
oh
that
no,
I'm going
they
in.
will be close games. I just don't see St. Cloud losing 6 straight games. That feels less likely to me than a split in this series.
I think Omaha sweeps. I think St. Cloud does lose 6 in a row.
And then Denver, Minnesota, Duluth at Duluth. Denver is not as formidable as they once appeared.
I think
No.
Duluth possibly wins Friday because Denver's been off, and I have not seen Denver play dominantly yet
No,
since their loss to Arizona State.
yeah, so it's
They're
getting
not
swept
the
by state, isn't
wagon.
it? But
They're not that team where, especially last year when they were playing at North Dakota on the CBS series, North Dakota was kind of hanging in there. All of a sudden, Denver was like, "We're just gonna rip off like 4 goals in a row and act like it's nothing." Um, they they are struggling because they did lose some big pieces. Like obviously, you have Zeev still on the blue line, but
Yeah, but
he's
they
only one player. In hockey, you
they
can't
have
have.
enough they have enough talent there. I mean, that we're not the same team only goes so far.
no, I mean,
They have enough talent there
oh yeah,
to dominate. It's just it's not it's not clicking like it was. And same, I think in a lot of ways, Colorado College and Denver are in similar boats.
um, I mean this series was close last year, and Duluth was struggling last year, but they had that one game that went. Uh, Denver got out early. Um, Minnesota Duluth came back and made it a game close at the end of I think the Friday game and got to overtime, lost in overtime, but they had like
Yeah, it was a Friday
stormed
game.
stormed back from like 2 goals down like twice to tie the game, and it almost felt like Duluth was gonna win it, and then just absolutely lost it in overtime, and Denver took that and rode with it to the Saturday game. So they will play each other tough. I mean, it is two super experienced coaches. I mean, two of very successful coaches in Sandlin and Carl. Both have won multiple national championships. Both have won the NCHC finals. The only thing that really Carl has on Sandy as far as NCHC success goes is Carl has a Penrose and Sandy does not. There's only 3 teams that have won the Penrose. But I wouldn't be surprised, or I wouldn't be shocked if Duluth stole a win here. And if they do, I think it's going to have to be a Friday game because Denver could come out a little slow, kind of like Western did last week against North Dakota. They came out a little slow after the break. Now, granted, Denver only had 1 week off, whereas I think Western kind of had 2 weeks off before getting to play again. So that could be a difference, but I think Duluth could steal a Friday win. If they win a game, it's going to be a Friday game. Let's put it that way. I think if Denver wins Friday, Denver's going to sweep the series.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at what we are at home because it feels like we struggle a little bit more at home than we do on the road, honestly, but I could be completely wrong. But we can move on as I'm trying to figure this one out.
I got it. You are 4-8 at home, 5-4 away. 4-8-1 at home, 5-4 away.
Yep. So
5-7
right
in the conference.
I was right. Yeah, we struggle a little more at home, but I do think that's partly because the student section just sucks now. I'm not a huge fan of our student section because it's not like 10 years ago.
And I mean, Denver, Arizona State got the win Friday, which propelled them to the sweep on Saturday. Western Michigan got the win Friday. They stumbled on Saturday against Denver. I just think if you're going to get them Friday, feels to be the day that they're most gettable, especially in this situation. But if Denver wins Friday, they're going to win Saturday too. It's just my feelings on that one. And then really the only team so far in the conference to have success against Arizona State, Colorado College, they make the trip down to Tempe this time after hosting Arizona State earlier in the year. Colorado College, I believe, swept Arizona State in Colorado Springs. Let me double check and make sure that is right. I think that was right before the Denver series. Nope, they played Omaha first. Colorado College was their first series. Yeah, Colorado College won 4-3 and 3-1. So really the only team to sweep Arizona State in the conference because I think they split with Omaha.
I think they'll split.
I do too. I mean, Colorado College is struggling a little bit, but Umberco is really good. It's the second time you're seeing the team for both goaltenders, both offenses, both defenses, all the way around.
I mean, CC they put up 7 last week on Friday, so
they've got a little more offense than they have in the last couple of years. Their defense has been a strong point for them. Stay out of the box would be my suggestion for them. Arizona State's had a really good power play and play 60 minutes because if you give Arizona State any room or space and an opportunity to come back on you, they will. They came back on Denver. They came back on St. Cloud State. They're there to play 60 minutes and they're there to show that they belong in the NCHC. And if you're not willing to do those things, they'll start beating you to pucks. They'll start making you make mistakes, and they'll start capitalizing them as we've seen them do against some of the better teams in the conference and in the country this year. So it could be a split. A lot of that will depend on the defense that Colorado College brings, how Umberco plays, and just whether they could keep that pressure up on Arizona State for 60 minutes.
I think it'll be a split. So I just don't know who's going to win which game, but I think it's going to be a split. I think Colorado College is going to kind of have a weekend like they did last weekend where they come out firing one game and then they forget how to hockey for another game, whichever one it is.
Well, I would say Duluth was actually playing the puck and getting in the CC zone a lot more of that Saturday game, but
Well, yeah, Friday from the one game that I did watch, we forgot how to hockey. I was
Mhm.
surprised we could figure out which skate went on which foot, and we knew how to tie our laces, and that our moms didn't have to do that for us.
And I think this is what's giving North Dakota so much heartburn is that Arizona State and Western are in top, and it kind of feels like the Big Ten this year, where with Oregon winning the championship. A school that it's just entered the conference, now sitting on top, and that that doesn't sit well with the Blue Bloods.
Yeah. Here's what I want from Western though. I want them to play the way they did against North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward, you're a top ranked team in the conference. You're a top ranked team in the pairwise. I mean, maybe not super duper high. I think they're like seventh still. Uh, they're at least a 2 seed as far as the pairwise goes right now.
They're at 5 in pairwise right now.
And they're a top ranked team in the polls. I think they're 3-1 and 4 in another.
Mm-hmm.
Play like the top ranked team that you are. Do not play down to Miami because Miami's having an off year. Beat the teams you're supposed to beat, dominate the teams you're supposed to dominate, and keep games close with the teams that are close to you in any of those metrics. That's all I want from the team. I don't want to see a team that overlooks Miami and it's a shocker that we're down 3-1 early in the first period, or in the after the first period, or something stupid. Like, play the 60 minutes, be the team that you're supposed to be. And the fact that it's a team that doesn't have a lot of that's built through and through the lineup, we're getting scoring from across the lineup, and there's not necessarily a big name out there anymore. Like, there's not a Pola and there's not a Frank. There's not. I mean, Bump is kind of becoming that guy, and his scoring has certainly increased here in the last couple weeks. And so it's nice to see him doing that. He could have a huge weekend this weekend against Miami, but just play smart.
I predict at least one hat trick.
I would like to see a hat trick. We have not had one yet this year. You know what also would be nice? And I'm not jinxing it. I'm just throwing it out there. It'd be cool to get one. Would be a shutout because somehow both goalies have played really, really well, and then something stupid happens, and the luckiest goal sneaks past one of them, and they're like, "Oh, cool. Well, you just could one of you please just finish a game and get a hat trick or a shutout? That'd be awesome."
Well, you jinxed it. You said the word.
Nah, there's 2 goalies.
Yeah,
They're fine. They'll do great.
all right.
Cameron Rowe just has to leave his puck luck at home for 1 game, and Hampton just has to get a defense that doesn't allow that one extra shot that always somehow manages to be the one to beat him. That's all that needs to happen. 60 minutes of defense, boys. Help the goalies out.
All right, thanks, Shorzy.
You gotta hate to lose, all right? That's all I'm saying. And I don't know that they hate losing. Actually, it does feel like Western hates losing right now, and that's good. I don't know that Miami hates losing, and they should, because they're doing a lot of it. Well, I guess we're gonna end it on that note. And that was kind of mean, but there's some YouTubey stuff. There's like, subscribe, dislike. I don't care. Put anything down there. If I dogged on Miami a little too hard, let me know in the comments, and I'll make sure to ignore it. No, I'll see it, and maybe I'll reply. I don't know. It doesn't happen that often, so I don't know. We're on Twitter in places. They've been there. They're scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Good week of hockey coming up this week. North Dakota gets the rest that they need after a rough start to the second half of the season. But after that, only one thing left to say. Pucks on net, good things happen, like goal horns and fight songs. Thank you to our special guest for joining us this week. It was fun chatting with you and getting to know you a little better. Until the next episode, we gone.
Always a pleasure, Wes.
Bye.
Bye.